What is going on, you guys? My name is Alex, and I'm a 21-year-old trader attempting to master the stock market to potentially one day join the very few who make a living out of this. So these are my three current positions as of today: DraftKings, Procter & Gamble, and Adobe. DraftKings were up $67, Procter & Gamble were up $26, as you can see here in the center, and Adobe we are down 156, so that's unfortunate. Adobe is actually the one we barely entered today, so let's take a look at our transactions here and see what's going on for today. Taking a look at our transactions here, you will notice something pretty interesting, and that is a massive $1,600 loss over here at the right hand side, and that is a Spotify trade that we took yesterday. Unfortunately, today they reported bad earnings and the stock just sold off like 10% or so. We only had 22 shares, so we lost a good amount of money here, and I'm going to explain the technical aspect of things. Obviously we'll get into the charts right now, but besides that, we did close the Johnson & Johnson trade with a $25 loss, nothing major. Again, we entered DraftKings 300 shares, and Adobe also we entered today long. So let's get into the technical aspect of things, and yeah, let's look how we lost 1,600 today on Spotify here. All right, first things first, let's take a look at Spotify here, the $1,600 loss and how it happened. And if you haven't noticed already, catastrophic loss today. As you can see, we're down like 11 or 10% at some point, which was that was my loss essentially. So if you're not familiar with my trading system, I essentially look for a trend here, as you can see in this blue line, and then the breakout of that trend, which is in this case right here would have been yesterday. This 4-hour candle, I should actually mention that every candle you see on the screen represents 4 hours worth of time. So if we go back over here at the first point, that is January, February, March, April, May, June 27th, and it is now July. So you're probably looking at a whole month's worth of data here to back us up here, which is pretty good, not gonna lie. But what isn't the best is this breakout here that we got yesterday. But I still took it just because it was still considered a breakout, since we did close above the blue line, which is my confirmation and my entry point. And I'm going to tell you guys exactly how it is. The thing is, you can't predict these things. It's out of your control. Now, you could choose to not engage in these trading activities. For example, I already knew that there was earnings on Spotify. It was a big gamble for me, but it could have gone either way. It could have gone up, and I could have made 1,600. Unfortunately, today it just wasn't in my favor, and I'm gonna keep playing and participating in this activity to that day comes where, and I'm not even looking for that. I'm never looking for a big winner like this, or a big loss in this case, obviously. But if it did go in my favor, I wouldn't be looking for those type of winners. I'm looking for small and steady gains. But occasionally this does happen where you just lose or either make 10% or 8%, whatever the case was today. And yeah, it's out of your control. As long as the technicals are there, as long as you're doing what is reasonable. I took my loss today at the end of the day, which is my strategy, so I did nothing wrong. You are good. As long as you could do that for a very long time, you are completely good, and over time you will come out profitable. So that's Spotify for you guys. I have nothing else to say on that one besides it was a pretty catastrophic loss, but it wasn't really a devastating loss. I'm not devastated. I still put on 2 really good trades today, which we're going to go over right now, and that's pretty much it. I'm happy with the fact that I actually was able to take my loss. I know a lot of people that wouldn't take their losses, seeing a pretty big hole like that in their wallets. So that's Spotify for you guys. Let's look at the next ones here. All right, so next one on the list, we got Johnson & Johnson here. Nothing special. We took this short position on this break of the trend line. A pretty steep trend, I'm not going to lie, a little bit steep. Only like a couple of days of data here, as you can see, from 0721, and it is now 0720. 25 it was when we got the break here. So not much data here, but it was still a decent little trade here that we took. Nice little candle of the break, and today we actually got stopped out using a trailing stop method, which was something like this, essentially just waiting for any candle that closed above the previous high was going to be my stop loss. And today the first 4-hour candle of the day actually closed above it, so we ended up taking a $25 loss, which was essentially a break-even trade here for me. So that's Johnson & Johnson. Nothing too special, a little small loss. That's how we like to keep them, except for the previous one actually. That was out of my control again. The next one on the list, we got DraftKings here, presenting a decent setup here. We got 1 touch point here, 2 touch points, and then a 3rd one here, and maybe you could even consider a 4th one here. And barely today we did manage to break below this trend line here on the red. Not only that, but we also managed to close below it. So the 4-hour candle, and on the daily time frame, if we look at the daily time frame here, you will see that we did close below the trend line here, presenting a pretty good setup here. So hopefully tomorrow we do see a continuation of the downside and we take a win here. And yeah, we're also using a trailing stop method here to trail the price. If in the case that it does come down, we'll just lock in some profits. If it tries to move in against us, we'll just take our small profit there. So pretty decent setup here, and that's DraftKings for you guys. Let's move on to the next one here. All right, so just to refresh your memory, if you don't know, Adobe is the one we took today earlier, and we were already down $150. So really interesting trade here. Again, we've talked about something like this happening on a previous video where these things tend to happen about 1 out of 10 trades, 2 out of 10 trades. So you should expect to see, whenever you enter on these breakouts, just a complete rejection, a complete move against you right away. So today we entered on this nice little green candle here on the break of this trend line, but unfortunately the last 3 hours of the day, which is a candle that I don't trade, I only trade through 6:30 to 10:30, which is when this first 4 hour candle closes, and the last 3 hours of the day, I don't even consider that candle too much. So I didn't want to take my loss today, not only because I don't really consider this 3 hour candle, because it is a 3 hour candle, it's not actually a 4 hour candle, because it uses after hours. Not only because of that, but also because it hasn't really hit our stop loss yet. So our stop loss, we're using this counter trend here, so a trend line that is going upward instead of downward, as a stop loss. So in the case that tomorrow the price does come down and it closes below this trend line, I am going to take my loss here. But like I said, it doesn't happen too often. It typically happens 1 out of 10 trades, 2 out of 10 trades, where you enter and then it goes against you right away in the last 3 hours of the day. So that's what happened today. The only thing you could do is prepare to take a loss and hope for the best. That's really it. That's what the market is all about, actually. If anyone that can manage to take losses or keep key losses at a minimum, you will end up winning at the end of the day, as long as you obviously let your winners win. And there's some intuition to that, of course. It's not that simple, but that's the market for you guys right there. Adobe, unfortunately today, just didn't cooperate with us like we expected it to. So now at this point, we just have to hope tomorrow that the price does come up, and in the case that it doesn't, we'll be prepared for that. So that's Adobe right there. So that's going to be it, you guys. I thought I had another one to show you guys, but we went through all of them already. Adobe, a really interesting trade there. Spotify, massive loss today, but that's going to be it for you guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed the little quick video. These are my 3 current positions. Again, DraftKings, Procter & Gamble, and Adobe, the interesting one that I was talking about right now. And make sure to leave a like, you guys, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay focused.